Are you really doing this?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
This is my most dreaded, excited thing that's ever happened all year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
I'm
gonna do the island, and I'll move that, and then
careful, don't knock my deer over.
and then contingent upon how this turns out, I'll do this.
Maybe you should start with a small section then. No?
That's not what I do.
Go big or go home?
Yeah. So
Okay,
if you guys are
exciting.
going, I'll just do this.
Okay, good luck.
Okay. Do a bit of practice, bro.
Football.
Basketball.
Need your basketball.
When I did the concrete countertops, either I mixed the epoxy sealer, the ratio's wrong, or I put it on too thick. Either way, there are places where I can run my thumb over this and it just flakes off. Cedar loves the countertops. We love them, but they're just a little bit too beat up. And the places where she wipes regularly, you can see it because the concrete gets wet and it looks darker. I picked up a HEPA filter for my shop vac. I got 220 grit sandpaper. Cedar and the kids are gone. I'm gonna give this a go. Before we do the flooring, before we do anything else, I gotta get this figured out. I'm gonna do the island, and depending on how the island turns out, then I'll do the rest of the countertops. So I'm gonna hold the shop vac over the end of the sander and just kind of hope that I pick up as much as I can. Here we go. The sander is just, it's 220 grit sandpaper, so it's kind of just polishing the epoxy. I think I'm gonna go out and get a razor blade. The epoxy is I gotta get the epoxy off before I can sand the concrete and really get this smooth. But the objective is to really try and polish this up a little bit. I may even try my heat gun, but I feel like over there where I sanded it, I ran my nail across it and the epoxy came up even easier. So I'm gonna go grab a razor blade and see if it makes a difference. I told Cedar that no matter how I did this, sanding the concrete countertops was gonna be a mess like I've never made before. No matter how much plastic I put up or how much water I use, the dust is going to get everywhere. We decided this is the time to do it. If we're going to put new flooring down in the next couple of weeks, we might as well see what we can do with the countertops now. I started out by using regular old sandpaper and figured out real fast that that was just not going to be enough. On a plus side, the sandpaper did help remove the epoxy sealer, but it didn't do much for the concrete. I will say in the places where the epoxy took, it was incredibly hard. It was very difficult to get off. But unfortunately, most of the epoxy was coming loose. After scraping the sealer off last night, basically with a razor blade, because even the 100 grit sandpaper I had wasn't doing much to it, I ran down south and I picked up 4 or 5 of these diamond bit sanding discs that are used with water. This is my angle grinder. I was kind of at a loss, and along the edges, as I would scrape it, some of the concrete started to, it just got real rough. Cedar's taking the kids this afternoon and going to a friend's down south to spend the night. And so I'm just gonna work on this all day long, and I'm hoping I can polish this up to where it's beautiful. This is 50 grit, then I have 100 grit, and then I think I have 200 grit. And I'm just gonna keep going with it. The trick, and I'm using water to do this now, the trick's gonna be to keep the water or the muck from splattering all over the cabinets. But the good news is it'll keep the dust down. So, here I go. I've only seen concrete countertops done in a few different homes, and in most of these homes, they were not pour-in-place countertops. They were formed and made up in somebody's garage, and therefore sanding and polishing was not as critical.
Hey.
You leaving? Keep me in touch. Let me know what's going on when you're coming back.
Okay.
All I'm going to do is make a mess.
I know.
Just let me know that you get there. Shoot me a text. Let me know that you get there.
You make sure and water and feed the goats tomorrow and tonight. There is more water.
Okay, love you. Drive safe.
Okay.
Have fun.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have a mess here when you get back.
There's a mess already.
Shortly after finishing these concrete countertops, we loved the way they turned out, but they were kind of bland. Because I didn't sand into them and expose the aggregate, they were very simple, but they served their purpose. They were very durable, and as much as they were used, they held up. The epoxy is what failed. As I started sanding into the countertops, I realized that using the diamond pads, the countertops had lots of character that we had never seen before. But again, the deeper I got into it, the mess was unbelievable. I went over everything with 50 grit. Now I'm about to do it with 200 grit. The problem is, I only have one of these, and I still have all that countertop to do. And if the place is a mess, this is the time to get it done. So I may have to take a drive first thing in the morning, go a couple hours south to get more of these discs. Cedar and the kids aren't going to be home till tomorrow night. I don't want to do this again. This is horrendous, but I want to do it right. We didn't plan on Cedar and the kids going out of town at the same time. This may have been a huge blessing in disguise, because had she been here and seen the kind of mess that I was making in the moment, it probably wouldn't have gone well for me. The deeper I got into it, I knew I just had to finish the countertops, and I knew that the end result would far outweigh the mess that I was making along the way. So I stuck with it. I worked very hard and spent some long hours sanding and polishing the countertops. And all of a sudden, in my mind, these new concrete countertops completely changed the look of our kitchen. 50, then 100 grit, then 200 grit, and it's ready for sealer. So I'm gonna let this dry, wipe it down 2 or 3 times, then put the sealer on it. And then I have to do 2 coats of sealer. I think I wait 2 hours in between it. But this is never looked so good. It almost looks like a granite of some kind. I'm excited to see what the sealer does for it. I could see that by having the concrete countertops where the aggregate was exposed would tie in perfectly with the brick backsplash and also the new floor that we've been looking at. Whereas before, the countertops were just there. They did their job, but they didn't have a ton of appeal. I can't wait to see how it looks once the flooring's in. Cedar was gone for about a day and a half, and every time a noise of any kind popped up, both Bandit and Ruby ran for the nearest window, looking to see if Mom was back. Both Bandit and Ruby love Cedar just as much as the rest of us do. I basically tore all of the plastic out that I initially put up and started over, trying to figure out if I could keep as much of the dust retained to this one area. We were recently sent a box of N95 masks, and the timing could not have been better. I didn't have any good quality masks. The only other mask I had was an automotive paint respirator, and I would have had to wear something because the dust was just too much. And truthfully, this kind of dust is not good for you. I had me a nice little cough for about 12 hours afterwards. I could only imagine how bad it would have been if I hadn't worn that N95 mask. I just damaged the sanding disc that actually the part that holds the diamond pads. So I'm done, whether I like it or not. It's a miserable mess. There's dust everywhere. This is containing it a little bit better, but we're going to be cleaning this up for the next 6 months. But again, it looks awesome. So I'm going to run down there first thing in the morning, and hopefully they have another one of those pads. And then get back here, get to sanding, get to sealing, and then get to cleaning. That's going to be the big one. So. And by the way, the person that sent me the N95s, you know who you are. Thank you so much. Perfect timing. I spent the morning running around picking up more of these diamond pads because I basically used up all that I had last night. I made a discovery, which I kind of figured, but I thought I could get by. These pads are designed to run at about 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs. Most angle grinders run it between about 10 and 12,000 RPMs. I remembered I had a buffer, and this buffer runs at like 2,500 RPMs. Now, some people even use sanders, orbital sanders with this, but it's a 4-inch pad. I got to get this done. My oldest daughter is going to show up this afternoon and start cleaning. Cedar should be home this evening. I at least need to get the grinding done so we can start doing the cleanup aspects of it. As the island has dried, it looks amazing. I cannot wait to see how it's going to look with the sealer on it. But I've got to get the other countertop done. Around that sink is going to take some detail work. I'm not going to film it. It just kicks up too much dust and the camera really can't see what's going on. I'm going to throw my mask on and just try and get it done. Once I'm done with all the polishing and sanding, then I'll turn the camera back on. I reached out to my oldest daughter, Sage. I then reached out to Cheyenne, and Rhett was here. So the three of them helped me clean up as much as they could. But because I wasn't completely finished polishing the countertops, Sage and Cheyenne did as much as they could, and then they left because they had other things to do. And then Rhett jumped in and really helped me get the bulk of the dust cleaned up. All right, we are done. Sage, Cheyenne, and Rhett have all been helping me clean. Cedar is moments away from getting home. Sage and Cheyenne took off. We're probably 40% done as far as cleanup's concerned. We're gonna probably spend all day tomorrow cleaning, but we've got like some crazy snowstorm coming in that's supposed to lay down like 1.5 feet of snow by morning. Cedar just texted me from town and said the roads are horrible. I haven't been outside, so I'm guessing there's a good amount of snow outside. The countertops are incredible. It took a very bland, very unexciting countertop and turned it into almost a stone, like a granite, something like that. But it's still unique to our situation because the aggregate that's in a countertop is inconsistent, which means it's just got different unique patterns. It looks finished to me. Before, it didn't look finished. So tomorrow we will continue to clean up in the morning. We will wipe these down over and over again, but at some point we have to let them dry out. And then tomorrow afternoon I'm thinking I'm gonna put two coats of sealer on it, and then we're back to normal. But I have a feeling we're gonna be wiping up dust for a while. I don't know what else you could do. As far as pour in place concrete countertops, to sand them and polish them, I don't know what else you could do. It's just a mess. Thank goodness we haven't done flooring. Thank goodness that, we kept it downstairs. So anyway, I can't wait to see what it looks like with a gloss sealer on it tomorrow. I knew when Cedar got back, she would take the cleaning to another level. And as I knew she would, very quickly we had the house whipped back into shape. She's probably going to have to wash every dish we have, every utensil that we have. But again, we're happy with the end result. I covered the island with some plastic right after I finished wiping it down, and it was still wet. And for some reason that caused some sort of a reaction where we now have these little spots all over. I took my old faithful torch that I use for just about everything, and I went to work seeing if I could cause some of these spots to go away. And it definitely lightened those spots up. But once I began applying the acrylic sealer, the spots came back. The only other thing I could have done is continued to polish the countertop until those spots went away, but I wasn't about to do that. It still looks 1,000,000% better than what it looked like before, and it gives it a little bit of character, so we're not that concerned about it. Once Cedar gets all of her decor in place, I don't even know if it will be that noticeable. But it was a bit of a bummer when I pulled that plastic off to see those little spots all over. I worked hard around the sink to ensure that there was adequate sealer, as obviously this is the spot that's going to get the most use and abuse. It will be interesting to see how everything holds up from this point on. The next big hurdle we have to jump is I now need to build the brick platform that the wood stove is going to sit on before I can do the flooring. I took a few of the pieces of brick that I had left over from the backsplash, and I went down to one of the local brick suppliers, and they matched me up with a couple hundred bricks that I will use to build the very short pedestal that the wood stove will sit on. One of the concerns that we have is how much heat comes off that wood stove and how close the LVP flooring will be to it. So by putting that pedestal in place, it should give us a little bit of a buffer. Two coats down, one coat left to do. I still have a lot of cedar left. I could do more coats, I guess, if I wanted to, but I don't know if it's necessary at this point. I waited an hour in between the first two coats. I waited 2 hours between the second and the third coat. And then Cedar and I just ran our hands over everything and checked for any little pieces of sand, any lint, anything that just didn't feel smooth. And it's ready to go. So this will be the final coat, and then we're going to let it dry overnight, and then we're going to put the kitchen back together. So now that we've got the house whipped back into shape, the next video you will see will hopefully be a finished brick pedestal for the wood stove. And then hopefully we'll get the flooring at least brought inside so it can be acclimating to the inside temperature and humidity. And if all is going well, maybe by the end of the week, we'll have some flooring down. But my gut feeling is the flooring is going to take some time, assuming that Cedar and I can agree on the look and the color and the pattern of the LVP flooring that we want to do. Okay, we survived. Here we are, here and now. Kitchen's back to normal. Looks like we just...
Normal, we don't use normal in our vocabulary.
As normal as it's gonna get.
As normal as it's gonna get.
Beautiful new countertops.
At least when I wipe the counters, nothing's gonna chip off now.
Right.
It's good. Making progress.
And even if it does, at some point, if this starts to fail, you shouldn't be able to tell that much. I mean, we'll see. It's supposed to be really durable. It's designed for driveways. It's supposed to be really durable. So we'll see.
Okay. So no race car riding on the counter.
Oh, I'm sure the kids, it's a matter of time before the kids or the dogs are doing something. But probably the biggest mess I've ever made. I can't think of any. Drywall wasn't that bad.
It was pretty bad, but I think that's probably like the second most time I've ever been so mad at you before. First time when you cut down the trees, second time was when you made all that mess.
You were mad, you knew, I tried to set you up for it. I told
The
you.
mess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have seen it before.
I know. So the girls worked, what, 5 hours?
Me and Rhett probably, the Sage and Cheyenne helped a ton, but Rhett is the one that probably helped me. There was a 1/4 inch of dust over there, especially where I had it masked off. There was a 1/4 inch of dust.
Good thing you had that mask.
Yeah,
Thankfully,
it helped for sure.
Somebody was watching out for you.
For sure, it helped, but it's going to be a hot minute before I don't have crusties falling out the old nose, I'm sure.
Disgusting. We do have showers, you know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, when you breathe like that.
That's what I do.
Is it your sigh of relief?
Let's address it. We live at 6,000 feet in elevation. I'm a middle-aged man.
That's how you
For me people
express.
have issues with my breathing. That's just what I do, I guess. I'm always breathing hard, but I'm always moving. I'm always doing something.
It's like your yoga, like you're just like breathe in, breathe out, and you release your stress.
I don't know this stuff until you tell me, but you said somebody thinks I have a breathing.
Well, it's a subliminal thing, I guess, that you
I would challenge that person to come spend a day with me and see if they're not breathing hard. But anyway, and also, while we're at it, contact Cedar directly about the hoodies. A bunch of you guys have asked about the hoodies. They're not on the website, redpoppyranch.com, because she hasn't taken pictures of them. But
I don't get them until Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, okay. So
we ordered
email Cedar at redpoppyranchcedar@yahoo.com and she can get you set up.
Yes. But we're not picking them up till Tuesday, so we'll have more pictures until Tuesday, and then they'll go on our website after that. And so it's a pretty easy order once you go onto the website.
Yeah, we don't just email her. I'm playing middleman and I don't know what to say. Anyway.
Well, unfortunately, we can't keep every single size and every single design because
in stock. We can't keep them in stock.
So I'll order some more, but it'll take a couple weeks before they get here and ship. And
yeah, I'm talking about the new hoodie that I wore, whatever, on the last video.
Well,
but anyway,
have some long sleeves and stuff too.
Okay, so you were really mad at me over this. I text you like 3 times saying, when I text you and I say IDEEEEESTROYED, the house, you're just like, I knew you were. I knew you would. But more than anything, I don't know what else you could do. Like, I've thought about this a half dozen times. Okay, there's 2 different ways to do concrete countertops. Either pour in place, or you make them somewhere else and you install them just like granite or whatever. To pour in place and then sand and polish, I don't know what you. The only upside, I suppose, is I had done it in the beginning. We were already living here though at that point. Yeah, that's the only upside, is you do it before before paint has been done, I guess. But cabinets would have been installed, so I don't know how you. I don't know what you do.
Well, normally you don't have to sand it, because the few people that we know that have had concrete countertops, they didn't go through what we went through.
Yeah, the only people I'm thinking of, they did grind it, but he did it out in the shop and he brought it into the house afterwards.
I don't know.
So to get this look.
But your uncle, remember he put all those pennies on it?
No, that was what's his name? Jared, what's his name? The concrete guy.
I thought it was your uncle.
No,
your
it wasn't.
Uncle Dion, he did something in his countertops.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. He's the one that ground it down. Maybe he did, I don't remember. But I remember the old concrete guy we used on the Gilbert house, he put like horseshoes and silver dollars in his concrete, and then they put a heavy epoxy over it. But all they did was stain it. He didn't, to get this look, the exposed aggregate, you have to grind it down. And as Cedar said, my uncle did that many years ago. But his was not this smooth. If I recall, it had some imperfections in it. But my overall point is, I don't know what else you could do unless I masked the area off like it was a hazardous. I mean, I guess I'll tell you what I could have done. I would have had to do a reverse. What's it called? Reverse pressure fan. I would have had to have been drawing air out of the house we heat the house with a wood stove. We had windows open and we were freezing. When Sage and Cheyenne came to clean, they were freezing.
And then the screens all had the concrete powder. And they all have to be scrubbed now.
Yeah, and I had to let the dogs out because I didn't want the dogs in here. And so Bandit and Ruby took off for like 5 hours. And but again, when I saw that what this was turning into, I went, okay. All right, all the little chips are gone, all the little nicks, all the little imperfections. This is going to be dreadful. but the finished product. But I'm going to be doing this for a hot minute.
I feel like that's why the inside stuff got put off though too, because we both knew it was going to be a disaster.
But you said you were mad at me. I'm just trying to wrap my head around you being mad at me, even though you knew what.
I was mad because I was like,
it's done.
I had to like clean out all the drawers, all the cups. We've run the
We're not done.
dishwasher.
It's probably going to be a minute before all that's gone.
I worked from noon till midnight last night. Don't do that breath. It's the stress breath.
Okay. It's done. It's probably going to be a while. But I knew, as much as Sage and Cheyenne made an effort, I called Sage and I'm like, you got to come help me.
Before Mom gets home.
Yeah, and so they came and they tried, but then nobody cleans the way you clean. And so I knew that she would take
it's my
next
house.
level. Yeah, it's your house. Anyway, this next video, if you can see over can you see Cedar Lean one way? See the bricks right there?
Oh.
Those are the bricks that I went and picked up for the little pedestal that we're doing under the fire, the wood burning stove. That's next.
Oh, another mess.
That one won't be as bad because I won't be cutting anything in here. I only have to cut a few bricks. I'll do that outside. And that there shouldn't be.
You'll cut the bricks outside? We got that on video.
Yeah, there's only like 2 corners I have to cut. And then it's flooring, but we cannot agree on. The reason I didn't show the plank that I liked last week was we can't quite agree.
We should do a.
No, we shouldn't.
Yes,
I know
we
what you're gonna say.
And see which one people pick.
I don't care about what they think. I care about what you think. And
well, then you do what I said, the one I like. Then you pick the one I like.
We'll see. Maybe we'll throw something up on Instagram and ask a few people. But that's next. Get the brick done, and then flooring goes down. I can't wait to see how it's gonna look. Now with the finished, I don't know why the concrete countertops just bothered me. Because it looked.
You mean when I wiped it and it would chip off? That bothered you? Huh.
Yeah. Look, this is all a representation of my abilities, I suppose, and so I felt like on some level this was a failure. While the concrete was perfect, the epoxy wasn't, and so in spite of the mess that it created, I probably lost a good 5 to 8 years off my life breathing all that junk in. But the end result is incredible. And so now the flooring. Even though the flooring is going to be a giant pain, it should just bring everything together. So, anyway.
Okay, maybe I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you anymore. I was just mad for like a brief second when I could write in every furniture piece that I had.
Remember that tomorrow when we're looking at flooring. You're not mad at me anymore. Bye, guys.
Bye.